So first of all, thanks very much for everybody who had joined the session. And my name is indeed Timo Haavisto, and I'm from Turku University of Applied Sciences, a senior advisor at the Futuristic Interactive Technologies Research Group. And I am here to talk about next generation training solutions in collaborative industrial metaverse. So let's first go to the very beginning, so where it all began. So in 2020, the multi-user environment demand skyrocketed because of COVID, of course, that we all know as we are metaverse enthusiasts. And mainly that was focused on the social gatherings and the social hangout areas, not so much about industrial solutions. So our first environment was created in Altspace VR. Well, we all know also what happened to Altspace VR afterwards, but back in the days, it was the first major cross-platform place to make these environments quite easily. And it was very widely spread. And also we started using it for Harbor environment designs and presentations. So we created a Harbor environment, and in the slide on the right side, you can see the Altspace version of the environment. But pretty soon we noticed that we need all sorts of different kinds of interactions and integrations. For example, this middle image shows already our hologram avatar. So there was a hologram recording of an instructor who then presented certain things, and it was still possible to do that in Altspace. But once we started to do physics interactions, it became quite difficult to do. So we started developing our own platform in parallel of doing these Altspace environments. And it was from the very beginning that we decided to focus on the industrial side. So different kinds of industrial applications like sensor flows, video and image streams. Also AI generation was at that time already considered. So for example, I made several prototypes of those avatar holograms using face swap tool that was back in the days quite widely spread already. And it was the first major concern of stealing identities, which in my opinion is still a major issue when we are talking about metaverses. Okay. The next thing was indeed Harbor training environment. So we created a multi-user industrial prototype for Harbor. It was a Harbor project that ran in parallel with Smart Harbor project. So there was IoT integration, sensors, different kinds of trainings. And we quite soon realized that different kinds of competence cards and those trainings could be very interesting business idea for us when multi-user environments, of course, facilitated different kinds of strategic views of the performance of the trainees that were not possible to do in real world. And of course, we could then integrate different kinds of IoT sensors in the forklifts themselves to notice things that the real world instructor would not notice. So we created a Harbor training environment for single user and then enhanced that with the trainer. And later on, we also created collaborative and multi-user entities in there. So the forklift drivers could then practice collision avoidance in warehouses and such things. And that was quite new back then, and we got very much industrial interest regarding these. Then the next thing we did was a 360 video stream augmentation using neural network. So we created a neural network that we used for detecting objects in 360 video streams. And the results were surprisingly good. So even though this image that is shown here is taken from 360 video segment of it, the lightweight neural network was able to detect the boats, and we used the usual COCO 50 neural network for this. And regardless of the perspective errors, it was able to recognize all the major vessels, which we then thought could be very interesting research subject. And for project shoutout, I want to mention the Applied Research Platform for Autonomous Systems that is a very big project regarding this remote operations of naval vessels and sensor fusion. The project is still running until end of this year, but there is already a continuation project for that. So it was a very large-scale project with many consortium members. Then we created a command bridge training simulator mainly to train users for ECDIS and radar and radar controls. So in this ship, it was possible to, with hand tracking, manipulate different objects in the environment, and the ship itself was moving in an ocean with ocean dynamics. So all of that synchronized over network with the multi-user synchronization was one of the big challenges that we had here. And this command bridge training simulator was the first one that we created to utilize big data collection backend system. So all of the actions that were done by the users in this environment were collected in the backend system, and then they were used to train artificial intelligence to validate the user performance. We got the training data from hundreds of runs using many different naval academies, and that project has already ended, but of course the interest is still there. Then we created a large-scale university theory course environment, and that was one of the first international big projects. So 5 European universities participated in this project, and it was an environment created for 180 medical students who then were able to collaborate in the environment. So you can see in the top image there is one user holding a tablet, and then there is this circle, and that is visualization of the collaboration circle. So each of the tasks that were given in those tablets would be done by maximum of 3 collaborators. So they had their own private voice communication room inside that circle, and they could then do the exercise together. And again, the backend system was developed for grading, validation, verification, and reporting. So we pulled out reports of the students' performance weekly and then monthly, and then the final report of their success. And that project ran for the pilot, ran for about 3 to 4 months. So for the duration of 5 credits course. And again, there is the project shoutout. So if interest sparked on this project, there is a link that can give you more information about especially the pedagogical aspects that were used here. But this was our first massively multi-user environment in a sense that it had a huge amount of users, and the environment was running 24/7 basically. So students were able to do the tasks together at any time, and that was the benefit. In the same environment, we also created this anatomical human head. So with it is possible to take controls, as shown in the image, to toggle different layers of that 3D model. And then it is synchronized to all users in the environment. So if one is manipulating that model, then the others will see what layers or cross-sections have been selected. And it was quite interesting experiment to teach different medical procedures or different segments of the brain, for example. So you could remove all the skin layers and bones, and then expose all the internal organs, and then showcase them to their students, for example. Then, of course, what would be nowadays a metaverse or multi-user environment without some sort of ChatGPT integration? So we created this basically right away when the integration API was published by OpenAI. And it also was then synchronized over the different users. So one can take control of that OpenAI chat and write a question, and then the answer is shown to everybody in the environment. Different kinds of natural language processing can be used here. So currently we are experimenting with system that can use speech recognition to make these prompts. Of course, since this project, this was 1 year ago, the advances have been quite huge already. So there are new different API integrations that could be used, especially for the speech recognition. And we also tested with using large context memory. So in the newest ChatGPT models, it is pretty awesome to have those 32,000 token context memory, because basically the whole course material can be put into work memory of such model, and that heavily reduces the risk of getting false information from ChatGPT. So that experiment is still ongoing. As you saw already in the previous slides, the avatars until now have been quite simplistic. It was one of the industrial partners who said that they are not interested at all how the avatars look in their industrial applications. So it is most important to see who is the supervisor and that everything runs smoothly. But the students thought differently, so we created this integration with Ready Player Me as a prototype. And then in the background, you can already see the newer ChatGPT interface for these. And also this is now handled by the main platform that handles the identity and strong authentication and authorization. So each user can log in with the means that they are most familiar with, MFA or even NFC or research ID, in case we want to preserve anonymity, and they can log into the system. Especially in case for the research ID login, it is very useful because we can then use the same ID for manual printed surveys, and they can be then cross-linked in backend system to have a coherent, like all the material of the participant in one place with a common research ID without ever telling the names or contact information. Smart Harbor sensors I mentioned at the very beginning, so we enhanced that project's result later on with different kinds of strategic views of small harbors. So all of the events that happen in that harbor are visible to control panels in real time. So here we utilize different APIs. And the landscape itself was pulled from National Land Survey of Finland and brought in as an environment that was Pairisto Archipelago. So it was 60 by 30 kilometers, this environment that was pulled here for this demonstration. Then of course we have to talk about integrated remote control. So this was one major step in our development. 3D model of the environment was created. I won't talk about digital twins because as metaverse experts, you all know that digital twin requires two-directional manipulation. So whatever happens in the software side must happen in the real life. And here we are talking about 3D model of the environment and the robot. So we created those. And when our platform user enters the control area, so that is designated in the environment like this room with the robot on it, he will gain access to control the robot remotely, and that is then granted by the role and at the backend system. So if the user has the role to control the robot, then he can get controls of it, otherwise he will not. And of course the user can then release the control, so another one can have a go. We had a couple of presentations live already regarding this, so it was possible to participate in our demonstration and control the robot remotely and then release those controls so that another user could give it a go. So everything that the user does with the digital model of the robot is then executed by the real world robot, and it is then visualized as a video stream in the environment. So the top one is a video stream from the real environment, and the bottom one is the 3D model of the environment. There is of course some kinds of delays that need to be taken into consideration, and extrapolation and interpolation for these kinds of movements, but the biggest challenge here was the synchronization of the robots turning. So for example, the floor that you can see in the real world video feed here was quite slippery. So at times the robots could spin their wheels, and then the digital twin, of course, or the digital version did not have such slippery surface, so it turned immediately while the real world robot spinned and then turned, so it turned less. So that synchronization was a challenge. We have a couple of ideas how to improve it. We already tried accelerometers, but it improved the situation, but it was not perfect. So at the moment we are thinking of different kinds of QR code based anchor points in the real environment that are photographed with the robot's camera, so that it always knows its own orientation in the environment, and that then helps to synchronize the 3D model of it. Our future development paths are, of course, standardization of environments to a one single oversharing platform. So at the moment, all of these demonstrations have been integrated to our authorization platform. So user will get access to environment, one or many of those based on the token system. And in each of the environment, the user has different role or the same role based on what kind of credentials he has. From our side, the most important things to actually proceed towards the true metaverse are the common open interfaces and sensor streams that will become quite huge, and identity management. So at the moment, it seems that each of these metaverse platforms is an isolated bubble, and it will take a lot of work to get all of that standardized and under one umbrella. There is, of course, the metaverse forum that I hope that as many companies as possible will participate, so that they get fast information about the standardization process. And of course, in the 3D model side, there is the USD that is now becoming more and more relevant for metaverse platform development, also for us. From the industrial side, it is of course always a consideration that it should be secure. So one of the major requirements from our industrial partners was that there must be no Facebook accounts or any such open system, or not open system, but external credentials to any social platform. And also they wish to have this whole thing run locally in their own isolated network. And those were the base requirements for our system also. So all of these environments and their servers and the platform can be run in Docker containers, and it does not require any specific configuration. I have run this platform environment server also in Raspberry Pi, so it was not, of course, very heavy, but it worked thanks to .NET framework that we used to develop this backend system. Also, the IoT integrations are, of course, need to be identified, and there must be encryption, especially when steering or remote control data is concerned. So at the moment we have 3 different systems in place. So there is MQTT based system, then there is the ROS1 based system, and then we are currently developing ROS2 system, and most of these will run over WebSockets, secure WebSockets. But I have also experimented with gRPC, and I'm very interested in the HTTP3 quick. So maybe that will also be used mainly or in parallel with the existing systems. And here are the latest news from the field. So user is operating customized industrial controller. I hope that the video is coming through and it is not too laggy. Sometimes when these are embedded, they lag. So here the system is doing the whole round trip. So when the user is steering that wheel or the pedals, it will send the control signals to our environment server that is in Finland, and this is now done internationally from Germany. And then again, this information of the physics that are being present in the environment are sent back from Finland to Germany. So this user will actually do a full round trip when he is operating this vehicle. So when he moves the controls, the signal is sent to Finland, the physics are calculated and then sent back to Germany to his VR headset and his desktop computers. And with our system, the measure lag is about 60 milliseconds here, which is according to our industrial partners enough for this kind of use case. This video is copyrighted by Proverse Interactive Ltd. I'll talk shortly about Proverse in coming slides. So here in our research group, the focus is on metaverse and collaborative learning, as we already discussed. There are many different projects. Some are 7-figure projects that are running consistently. At most, we had about 10 to 15 projects running in parallel that all use this platform that we developed, and it seems to be fulfilling the requirements of those projects. So we will continue on this path. And of course, we can utilize students in the research and development projects, so they will also be participating in the development of different high-risk prototypes. And if they find good solutions, then a bigger experienced team is then making an implementation and integration of that. So Proverse Interactive indeed is a startup, and it started in May with this our platform system, and it is now handling all the business inquiries regarding our platform. So it has been commercialized. So this is a spin-off or startup coming from our university. And they, of course, are very interested in our contacts. All right, that was the theory or lecturing part of this presentation. Now the following will be a bunch of videos and screenshots regarding those environments that I just presented. So please take a look, and of course, if there is a lot of network lag, then we will proceed with the slide shots rather. So the first one here is command bridge of a naval vessel, of course, as you can see, and with the experience that we got from the command bridge project earlier with hand tracking, we can now utilize different seats for each position in the command bridge or operation theater, like in this case. So each of the participants in our environment can practice independently or in collaboration different tools and different processes that are presented in the command bridge. And all of those are then recorded in the backend system and can be validated later. We hope that we can soon create artificial intelligence that gives feedback regarding these actions in real time and not just after the fact. But the path forward here is very clear. And here is the IAAS environment, the one with the 180 university medical students participated a year ago. And it still has these old avatars, but this is a round trip of the environment itself. So it was a two-story building basically, and the first floor was teaching machine learning and AI topics, and these task dispensers, like we call them, are providing different tasks to the user, and he needs to complete all of those tasks in order to pass the course. Then in the second floor there is the soft skills section. So similar dispensers are present here, and they give tasks and duties regarding soft skills. So how to handle a patient that has been given bad news, for example. So that is soft skills. They were utilized using different video presentations, and then the task machine stopped the video at certain times and asked what is the patient's feeling at the moment, so it trained empathy. And here we can see the top floor of the environment with the shader system created by one of our artists for the trees and the butterflies. This was mainly created as a relaxation area when the students were participating in the course, so they could come here and hang around also. No particular activities were implemented here, though. The focus was always in the teaching. And here is the neural network in real time, detecting those boats that I described in the previous slides. Happily or funnily, it is also detecting the boat that the camera is running on, which is hilarious because it is very highly distorted. In 360 video, we can see everything normally, but once you pull that out into full video, then it is very perspective. It is not very perspective correct. Similarly here, once we approach these bigger ships, you can see that the bounding box is having a large curvature. So that is also showing the distortion of the image. However, the neural network used here was just a regular neural network trained on, I think it was 440 by 440 pixel images as training material, and it still was able to be used here in 360 video, which is quite fascinating. And here is the remote operation center, just a still image, but we have it here downstairs, and it will be used to control remotely a boat, a catamaran that we have recently launched. And of course, this is using ROS 2 that we are now currently implementing to multi-user environment. So then we can control this ship in multi-user fashion also, so releasing of controls and drive and participating in the same ship remotely using different systems. So the ROC is of course the most comprehensive one, but the same environment can be joined with just a regular laptop also. And here is the virtual training center with the ChatGPT demonstration. So basic features going into the panels and then asking something from ChatGPT, and then it replies using the API. And here are students currently discussing with ChatGPT and seeing its responses. So this is now 5 users that are then called to come forward. Of course, we have a voice communication in all of these. Then there was one project with the Hangouts area that was the physical object manipulation. So you could play chess here in this environment. It was created as a Hangout area for entrepreneurs. So many meeting rooms, meeting cubes, voice communication, and then also some activities in the environment. Here we have a multifunction room. This was an idea created in virtual training certification project. So it was a modular design where we created these multifunction rooms that could be then different kinds of scenarios could be spawned inside those rooms. So I was thinking that maybe these could be restricted based on different credentials of the users, and then if he can participate in certain training, then he can spawn that and then complete something else. This was also created as a shader system. There are just drafts of the possibilities. So you can enter these and you cannot see outside. So it is an isolated environment. And this was an integration of haptic vests and other devices. So we were simulating boat driving in this prototype, and it is presenting the G-forces when you turn the boat using your haptic vest. So once you are turning very hard on left, then it will feel like there is a pressure on your left side of your body, and that was quite immersive. Together with VR goggles, these haptic vests and different haptic devices. So here we experimented how to give haptic feedback of driving in these kinds of environments. And here is the most recent sample from the Harbor collaboration environments. This is showing collaboration in the environment. There are many users in different roles in the environment, and they are opening and closing the doors for forklifts in this environment. And all of these are then physics synchronized over network, of course. And here is multi-user video regarding the command bridge. So in this case, you can notice that there is a lot of wobble. Unfortunately, sometimes when VR is recorded, it is quite shaky, but this demonstrates the operabilities. So every user can control ECDIS and radar, and they can even manipulate the same objects at the same time. So everything is synchronized over network. And this was using Vario XR3 devices, so state-of-the-art finger tracking and hand tracking last year. This project was Marisot project, and it ended recently. And happily, Tow won the best learning solution from Finland. So there was a competition this spring, and Marisot won that project. And there you can see some examples of the backend data collection. So there is full eye tracking. What is the gaze target of the user? So, for example, if the user is looking at the ship that is approaching, when he is doing some steering maneuver using tiller, it is a bit different topic than if he is just making those decisions while gazing at the radar. So those we found to be quite interesting metrics to see. And of course, this would not be possible without our great team. So this is the whole crew of working on these projects. And then there are, of course, many industrial partners in addition to our in-house team. All right, and now it is time for questions and answers. And of course, very excited to answer anything that I can, but please take into consideration that the Proverse Interactive has now indeed purchased the rights. So it might be that some questions I cannot answer because of NDAs. I guess the standard word for not telling something is the NDA.
If anyone wants to ask any questions and wants to come off voice chat, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. I had a question for you though. In terms of the latency for the remote device control, what was the most impactful or the most degrading thing that affected it to become 60 milliseconds?
Then, well, it was mostly about the round trip from Germany into our servers and back into Germany. So it was 30 milliseconds there. Of course, there will be some processing, but basically the international connection was the one.
Okay, I was going to ask, because obviously that then can be split into the local area and the international trip. So it was the international portion that was the greatest latency.
Yes, happily we have extremely fast internet connection here as we are part of the Finnish Funet broadband network. So we are in the internet backbone in that sense, but of course not all our industrial partners are. And there might, of course, is always delays when international connections are considered.
Yes, that's true, because in the field there'll be a variety of different connections. It can't all be the same university grade internet backbone.
Yes. All right. Any other questions?
I actually have another one. When doing the remote device control, what was the degree of motion sickness that was experienced by some of the participants? Was it like 15%, 20% of people?
It depends very heavily on the people. So some indeed cannot even drive, especially the boat driving was very bad in that sense. But interestingly, the haptics helped. So if there is some sort of feedback from haptics, then it was easier to get used to it. But yes, sometimes the motion sickness is very...
That makes sense to me, because then you have the brain and the body connection attached. Whereas one of the main causes with the motion sickness for VR is the fact that the brain is interpreting the movement with no sensation on the body.
Yes.
Okay. We don't have any other questions in chat. If anyone wants to, please feel free to reach out to Timo for any other questions. And I think we'll wrap it up there, if that's okay with you, Timo.
Yep, that is okay.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you very much.